Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. My name is Rainer and this is Rainier Books. I'm back from Germany. I'm back in Sweden. I was in Lübeck in northern Germany in the old Hansestadt Lübeck for 4 days on the International Teachers Conference, German Teachers Conference. It was a magnificent experience to meet all these people from all over the world, from the United States over India to Australia, from Norway to South Africa. Really a great experience for everyone who has to do with the German language. But now it's about the English language, it's about books, and it's about the book that I actually finished in Lübeck, Germany. And now it's, let's talk about sex, baby. We talk about sex, we talk about we talk about menopause, we talk about all the things, and you know which book I'm talking about if you have read it. I'm talking about All Fours by Miranda July from the United States. This book was nominated, it was longlisted, it was shortlisted actually for the national, it was a finalist for the National Book Award in the USA. That's why they don't call it shortlist but finalist. And it also was on the shortlist of the Women's Prize this year, earlier this year. Miranda July is a writer, filmmaker, and artist, and her last name was chosen. It's not July, it wasn't July in the beginning when she was born. When she was 16 years old, there was a short story written by a friend of hers, and there was a character named July, and I think that is why she changed her last name to July. Miranda July is living, as I understand, in Portland, Oregon. I read that only yesterday, and a lot of things became more clear to me, because Keep Portland Weird, and this is a weird book, but this is also a book that is enabling us to discuss, to talk a lot about things that are usually not talked about that much. I have seen many reviews of this book online already. It was published about a year ago in the US and in the UK. We have a 45-year-old female protagonist who is not named. She doesn't have a first name, she doesn't have a last name. Her first name could be Miranda, I don't know. And because Miranda July now is 51, and she has said that when she was like 40 years old and experienced certain changes in her life, she was looking for a book like that, but it didn't exist. So when she was 45, she said, okay, let's write it. We have a 45-year-old protagonist. She's living in Los Angeles, California. She's married to a great progressive, super progressive, extremely supportive guy named, a feminist guy named Harris, who is a music producer, I believe. And they have a child. We don't know if this child was born male or female, but the narrator treats the child as non-binary. That's why she always uses the pronoun they and their, the pronouns they and their for the child whose name is Sam. So, when Sam was born, pretty late in in the narrator's life, when she was like 39, because Sam was like 6-7 years old, so she was 38 or 30, she was 38 when the kid was born. She had a problem when the kid was born. It was almost a stillborn baby, which means a death baby, because they suffered, both of them suffered from, let me read this from the paper here to make it right, placental insufficiency with feto-maternal hemorrhage, which means actually that the navel, that the blood was drained out of the baby into the mother again when birth happened, and it was super dramatic, and the child almost died. And well, the narrator has PTSD still from that 7 years later. She's still thinking a lot about this traumatic experience of her child almost dying. So she has a beautiful relationship to a beautiful guy. They have a beautiful child who's super nice, and she loves her child a lot. And she also is an artist. I could say that she's actually something like a writer, a filmmaker, and an artist, the narrator of this book. And for some reason she has to go to New York City, from Los Angeles to New York, all across the country. And she decides not to take a plane, which would be the easiest way, take a direct flight from LAX to JFK or Newark. No, she decides to take the car and to drive the car alone. She makes a super a detailed plan when she is. The first day she's going to stop there, second day there, third day there, and I think after 4 days she will arrive in New York City. She will stay in a very beautiful hotel, ba 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 ba. Everything is planned, and the husband, Harris, says, well, go on that trip. It will be super nice for you to experience that, to have that freedom away from the family. You can be yourself again after so many years. So she gets in that car and she goes on to drive to New York, and after half an hour, 45 minutes, I don't know how long it takes actually, from Los Angeles to Monrovia. You can write that down in the comments below if you ever done that drive yourself. From Los Angeles to Monrovia, she leaves the highway in Monrovia. She goes to Hertz, to the car renting company, and she sees that super young in the beginning of his 30s, attractive male young guy whose name is Davey. Then she checks into a motel in Monrovia, run-down motel, I don't know, 2 stars, 2.5 stars maybe, super typical American cheaper kind of motel. She checks into room 321, and she decides to stay there. She meets a woman named Claire. Claire is the wife of, she's the girlfriend or wife of Davey, Claire, and she's also an interior designer. And this woman, the narrator of All Fours, has a lot of money. She's safe, she's secure, she is wealthy. So she says, and the motel owner is okay with that after some discussions. She says, please, Claire, come to my motel, 321, room 321, and renovate it, make it very modern. And the narrator chooses colors and curtains, and she gets several suggestions by Claire, and they decide to do this room completely new. And it costs her, I think, $20,000, which is no problem for the narrator. She has that money. And after 4 days, so she stays longer than 2 nights, after 3-4 days, the room is finally ready, and the narrator has her own room, that motel, 321. And she stays there. And she starts dating Davey. And she has very sexual imaginations of Davey. She wants to... Can I say that word? No, I can't say it on BookTube. We don't speak in 4-letter words here. But she's really very frank with her language, the narrator and also the author of the book, Miranda July. So there's a lot of F words, a lot of C words, a lot of C words, actually, both for the female and the male sexual organ. And if you can't stand this, if you don't like pornographic descriptions, then don't read this book. It's going to hurt you, because there's super pornographic scenes in that book. Not so many, but like 2 or 3 or 4 of them. And also, I have to say that the narrator is always masturbating. She's masturbating her way through that book. She is very horny, am I allowed to say that? She's very horny on Davey. She wants to have sex with Davey, but they don't have sex. That's a spoiler alert. They don't have sex, but they are getting very, very close to it, because also Davey likes the narrator. So what the narrator is going through is basically, she is in something called, this woman, this 45-year-old narrator, she's going through perimenopause. And this book is about perimenopause. She's afraid that at some point in the novel, that her vagina is drying out, that she will not have that pleasure that she had, that she could have had earlier from a certain point in life. And that's also why the cover of this book, actually, I don't know if you can see that on the video, why the cover of this book is a cliff, Because there's that cliff in life of a 43, 44, 45-year-old woman when she experienced the rest of this. This is the normal life, the normal sex life as well. And she is afraid of falling down that cliff and not having that kind of desire, not having that kind of libido that she had before that. And probably I think that Harris is not really giving her the passionate kind of sex, the sex that she is desiring, because Harris is so nice and so kind and so understanding, but she wants the raw version of sexual desire so much. She's very much afraid that her female sexual desire is diminishing, is just vanishing. Let me read a paragraph from this book. This is from page 72. This is not a spoiler either, but she's there in that motel room, the narrator, and she is telling the story. I got up and washed my face, the star tiles cool underfoot. How crazy and vain did you have to be to kill yourself when you found out that your main thrill, the thing that really got you going, was gone forever? Maybe not so crazy. If Bertha was being thrown energetically up into the air, we aged as we rose. At the height of our ascent, we were middle-aged, and then we fell the cliff for the rest of our lives, the whole second half. Falling might take just as long, but it was nothing like rising. The whole time you were rising, you could not imagine what came next in your particular, unique journey. You could not see around the corner, whereas falling ended the same way for everyone. That's what she's thinking about, the narrator, and she's scared. There's more sex. She's not having sex with Davy, she's having sex with other people in that book. And I really wonder how they are going to film this, because this book is supposed to become a TV show. TV has bought the rights to the book, and without having the pornographic scenes, because you can't actually show this on television, absolutely not. I wonder how they will sort of transport the core of that novel, which is needed actually in a certain way to understand the problems that this woman is going through. The New York Times actually has called All Fours the first great perimenopause novel. So this novel really fulfills a need, and I really believe that. This book was very hard to get for me. Here in Stockholm, Sweden, at the Stockholm Library, City Library, I was in a queue. I was booking that book to get it from my local library, to get it to my local library, and there were like 140, 150 people in front of me who wanted to read that book. And I suspect that a lot of these 140, 150 people would be women between the ages of 40 and older, because I think this book is a very important book specifically for women in that age who are going through perimenopause, who are going through issues of being afraid of losing their sexual desire. This narrator is super scared, and it really is a midlife crisis book about women and for women, but also for a man like me, for example, who is a man also above the age of middle life now, who wants to understand his fellow women companions better. So this book has become a New York Times bestseller, and I'm not really surprised about that it is a national bestseller, because it breaks a taboo, talking about the sexuality of women, and also the taboo of women who are married, who are mothers in that age, who are not supposed to be super horny, who are not supposed to have that kind of strong desire for sex that the narrator is expressing and that she's having. And I think that is somehow in 2024, 2025, this is somehow liberating for a lot of women who read this book to see that they are not alone, to see that there are more people who are having the same thoughts, the same kind of problems, who are going through the same issues in that age, desiring younger men, desiring other women, want to break out from a marriage that is very nice, very cozy, very beautiful, very charming, but not really exciting. There's no passion in that marriage, and maybe they want something else, and now they have to decide, can I still have that other thing that I want in my life, or am I supposed to just vanish and slowly, fade out my sexuality? This is a very important question and very legit question. I know that there also are a lot of people, and not only people, not only men, but especially also women, who hate this book and who hated the character, who said that she's super selfish and she's leaving her husband, she's destroying her marriage, she's destroying the existence of the family that she sort of formed with Harris and their kid, Sam, the non-binary kid, Sam. And yeah, she's doing that because she actually wants to stay in that marriage with Harris, but Harris can't do this really, and he has super big problems. I don't want to spoil everything for you, so I don't have So I won't be able to say more about this here, but it was a pleasant read. I have to say that was a very pleasant and funny read. I love to read it. I love to widen my horizons, to see that cliff that the eye narrator is confronted with and to understand her, which doesn't mean that I super liked her a lot. She's a very privileged woman, and I was thinking about, I mean, she spends $20,000 to change that motel room, and she just goes on. $20,000, no problem, you know. And there are so many other women in very poor and dire conditions of life who don't have $20,000 at their disposal, who also face that cliff, and they can't live it out. You know, she can do everything. She can get that guy and get him into bed, get him into that motel room, but she can really sort of enjoy life at the fullest because of her privileged financial situation, and many others can't. And she's also kind of, well, in the beginning she's behaving like a stalker, and she is a stalker in a certain way because she never gives in. She's used to get what she wants because she has that financial power also, I think. So I'm not a super fan of the eye narrator, but I understand what she's going through anyway. I don't want to be a friend of hers. No, I don't want to be her friend. But it was a good example of bringing me into a territory that I didn't know so much about. And I understand why many book clubs are having heavy conversations about this book, pro and contra, for and against. And that's great. If literature can make us discuss, if literature can make us talk, if literature can break taboos, it's always good. So I think that All Fours by Miranda July, and that's my conclusion, is a good book because it makes us talk, it makes us even argue with each other, it makes us hate this character, it makes us love this character, it makes some women idolizing this character. I want to live like that, I'm 46 years old. And I'm in the same situation, almost the same situation. I understand that. I understand also the people who say, I'm 48 years old and I hate this woman. I have a family. I would never break up my family for this. I would never jump down that cliff. But the great thing about it is that we discuss, that we have heated conversations about it. And, well, I gave it 4 stars out of 5. And I hope I'll see you again in another video on this beautiful channel. Subscribe and like and open up the discussion about All Fours by Miranda July from Portland, Oregon. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.